heart and soul connection with the realms of light. This narrative tells Barbara Gale's story, whose spiritual gifts appeared at age 3. Today, as a prominent medium and channeler, she opens the doors to the unknown. Near-death experiences, extraterrestrials, reincarnation, past lives, the appearances of saints, and provides answers to your questions. Barbara Gale's astonishing posthumous accounting of Sonny Liston's life, death, and afterlife depicts humanity's struggles and redemption. This comforting non-fiction guide for 2025 and beyond proves you are never alone. Delve into The Immense Release on Amazon, where knowledge unfolds with every turn of a page. Schedule your consultation through answersfromthelight.com.
At your face, and suddenly I saw all this blue-green. I couldn't even see you, so all I could see was the blue-green, and I knew it was those beings of light who are here to help save Mother Earth from humans. And so you said to me that, what was it you said? I'm sorry.
That I saw a light and that it was over the lake you were talking about.
Yeah. So they want you to know. And this is for everybody. Please trust what you're seeing. Trust your intuition. Don't doubt yourself. And I get lessons about that all the time. And I got a real beautiful gift about that tonight. Listen, listen, listen. She's listening. I mean, I don't know if any of you hear your guides talking, but I could literally hear two of them. I was telling Ned earlier, two light beings saying she's listening. And then they said to me, this is the way you need to listen so you can save yourself, so we can help you save yourself and help you to save others. So I can tell you more about that later. But yeah, I'm jumping all over the map here, aren't I? So those blue-green beings, they are positioned globally, meaning all over the world by the water. And that's what they're here to do. And if you know, how can I put this? How do you want me to say it? When they know you don't mean them any harm. Because very sadly, our government has caused harm to some of them. And so they only allow those who are sensitive to see them so that there aren't any problems with it. Okay? And I may say a lot of things that some of you never heard before. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm just sharing my experiences and my truth based off of my experiences. So, are we still admitting people? Oh, Lord. Okay.
Yes. And Michelle, is your hand raised up? Your hand raised? You want to unmute?
Yeah. So I was going to say that I'm in Utah, and the ones that I've seen are out towards Utah Lake and the Eagle Mountain area. So that's where I'm seeing them.
Ah, okay. Have you attempted to make contact with them or communicate?
Oh, they've made contact with me.
So you've been able to communicate with them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They actually tried to help me. It was several years after my NDE. Well, it goes back even further than that. I have a friend who lives out there, and they've been with her. She says that they are the Greys, though, and they've been with her since she was 6 years old after her near-death experience. They've been her constant companion. And so after I had my NDE experience, I was severely ungrounded. And so she said, well, why don't you come out here and see if they can help you? And they actually did. Like, I ended up the only way I can say that I can perceive it is we talked about them. I sat in our living room and we talked about them. And she says, you just need to be humble and, humbly request for their help. And I did. And then I went to stand up to leave and go help her feed her horses. And it was like, I felt this, I started walking towards her kitchen and I walked into something. It was something. And I think it might've been a portal or something, but it was this huge magnetic pull and it literally pulled my life force back into my body. And I said, well, I guess I'm not going to go help you feed your horses. So anyway, but for like the next 3 days, I was grounded, and I was really grateful. I was really grateful. That they helped me. So, but I've had experiences with them for a long time. So
Yeah, me too, since I was a kid. So
me too.
thank you for sharing it. And I think since we're talking about them now, maybe we can talk about this more later because there's so much to say. And I actually have a channeled message from her name is Alora. And Ned, did you get that printed up to show us a slide or
Yep.
screen? Okay. So what Alora had suggested to do with her channeled message was she wanted people to be engaged, she said. I love her. And so she wants people to volunteer or offer to read different portions so everybody can read a different portion. And then at the end, she'll allow you to ask questions, okay, which I'll be answering. She'll be speaking to me and through me. So, yeah, okay. Who wants to share anything about where you are? What state you're in? Meaning
I'm Ann.
geographically.
I'm Ann in Mississippi.
Oh, hello there, Anne. Now, I don't hear an accent. I don't hear a Mississippi accent.
No, I'm not from here.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you for being with us. Okay, all right. So maybe what we should do is, I want to say, does everybody know how to use the chat if you want to send a message? Everybody's good with that? Okay. And everyone whose faces we don't see, I'm going to take it that it's by choice. And Barb, did you ever find the video part to turn it on?
Yeah, no.
Okay, on your cell phone, I never use my cell phone, presume. Does anybody here know how to turn the video part on a cell phone?
Yes.
Maybe-
Yes. So what you do is you take your finger and you tap your phone anywhere on the thing, and a roll up will come up on the bottom. When the roll up comes up on the left side, it should say mute, and then video, participants, chat, and reactions.
Oh, I see.
And you can, and then it hides away. So you
Okay.
just tap your phone again. So like she said, everybody put your thing on mute in case there's background noises and things like that, like a cat meowing or dog barking.
Mhm.
Or ghost talking.
Or a ghost.
And yeah, or spirits, whatever. But anyway, so since I'm on real quick, I'm just going to say I'm from Missouri. I lived in Florida 28 years. I live about an hour away from Lorelei, and it's 15 degrees at my house, but I've been in Florida since Black Friday, and I'm in Vero Beach right now, and I'm here till just after New Year's, and it's about 67 degrees. And I think it's supposed to be in the mid 70s the rest of the week. So I just want to say hi.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Barb, did you figure out how to do this, or you're just not going to do it?
I'm just gonna listen.
Okay. Okay. Again, if anyone has a question, you can put it in that, and Ned will be watching for it because next Ned is technical, right, Ned? God bless you. Okay. Well, I guess you all figured out I'm Barbara. So maybe what I'll do, since I've been shooting my mouth off already, is I'll do an invocation, as I so love to do that. and that is invoking divine light, the light of love, the light and love of God. And so if you want to just close your eyes and however you address the God of your understanding, Mother, Father, God, we come to you in all humility, asking for your guidance, your healing, your direction. We welcome all those messengers that you send to us in love, in peace, and in healing. And we vow to be responsible stewards for the knowledge that we received this evening. As we affirm, we take absolutely nothing on that does not belong to us. We say thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen. Okay, thank you. All right, Ned, please.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to present some information that I have picked up, but also a message that I feel is important.
Does everybody know Ned has a near-death experiences page on Facebook?
Yes.
In case you don't know that.
Yes.
And Ned made this. He knows how to do these things. So what you're about to see, he created it. Thank you, thank you.
So hello everyone. It is 12:12, and I also recently learned, for anyone who is a fan of Frank Sinatra, it's his birthday. That is random. But the purpose of this whole talk is basically kind of a preparation and thinking about next year and the kind of energies involved and the situation that we're in, because this is not business as usual. We're entering a time which is unusual, and we're going to need to use our spiritual discernment and awareness to kind of navigate to have a smoother road. And ultimately, even if there are big changes and disruptions, humanity has to change. It's just a matter of how. Because if you looked at our consumption on the earth and our patterns, we haven't been honoring nature, and it's almost like driving a car with your accelerator towards a brick wall. And so something has to eventually change, and we're in that time. And so for anyone who doesn't know me, I have studied near-death experiences since 2008, and then in 2012 I attended my first IANS conference, which is the International Association for Near-Death Studies. And ever since I learned about NDEs and about how people die and come back and that it's all real. It's like a reminder, because as a teenager and as a person who is very intellectual and loves science, I needed answers. Like if someone had a religious idea or a philosophy, I needed to understand how to evaluate if there is truth in it or not. And ever since I have found out about NDEs, as I'm sure a lot of people here have or have had them, you know that the true reality is far greater than our current mundane lives here. And so basically, once I attended the conferences and met the people and friends, it feels like family, because a lot of people here on Earth don't understand and they don't get it. So anyway, I've helped out there. I was even on the board of directors in 2016 to 2018. And in 2013, I created the first and largest near-death experiences group on Facebook. And right now it has over 224,000 people. There are others out there who are larger, but there are more general. I focus specifically on NDEs and helping the people who've had them and helping the people who are curious about them. Barbara here and her
Sweet
dog.
dog. She's
Um,
my best friend. I just have to say it.
she is a medium, a guide, and a mentor to many people. And since age 3, she has channeled divine guidance and information for people. Her website is answersfromthelight.com, and if anyone wants answers or help or mentorship, she is available. And what's interesting is when you get to know her and her story, either in person or through her book, you see the instances over her life of receiving warnings for people or information, and how, as I'm sure we've all had the experience of, you get an intuition on something and you follow it and you're safe, and if you don't, you often end up sorry about it. And so that's kind of a pattern in her life. And she talks about next year, we're going to have a lot of changes. But as I said, there's a purpose and there's a reason, and something has to change, but also we have help. We have ETs. There are other civilizations. We are not alone. And even she once spoke at a Mensa gathering, and it basically showed how even people who are not typically spiritual are looking for more answers. And her book, Immense Release, I'm about halfway through, and it is fascinating. It is a true story, and I would actually call it, if you need evidence or proof of life after death and fascinating occurrences, it's an eye opener. And what's interesting too, Barbara, do you have any words in terms of Sonny Liston and all that, or?
Sure. The book starts out with a lifetime of some of my experiences and documentation of communications with the realms of light, and also how I had located a teen who her nephew was missing, and the police couldn't find him. And so actually he had passed on, but he told me where and in what time frame he would be found. So there's a lot of proof that we communicate and that life continues. And then I serendipitously met somebody I'd gone to high school with, but never met him in high school. And as we were talking, I knew nothing about the boxing world, and I could care less then, and I don't care about it now. But I had a prior life contract to bring Sonny's legacy into the world. And one of the big lessons is, well, he gave me 70 statements about his life and career, which I knew nothing about. And his biographer, Paul Gallender, was maybe the only person, he said, in the world who knows all of those facts about his life and career. But what I was more interested in, and maybe you will be too, most assuredly, is he describes exactly, I mean, in detail, what it was like for him to take his last breath, to leave the physical body and physical world, and to go into the light. And he makes it very clear that there is redemption in the realms of light offered to everyone, but there is accountability. And he explained something I already knew, but the way he says these things are so beautiful. And he explained that we are our own judge and jury, that it's not God's wrath, but it's we feel what we made other people feel. And when we do, we have that remorse. And sometimes people don't get it right away, and it takes longer for them to. But he showed me there's accountability in the afterlife, and he showed redemption in the afterlife. And I found it incredibly godly. I'll say very godly, that because he was pretty much hated by most of the world, and that a man who was so despised by this world wanted to come back and leave a legacy to help us now. I find that extraordinary. And there's a lot of injustice in this world. And I can tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt, I can guarantee you that there is accountability for everything we do, everything we don't do. There are rewards, and there are those moments when you wish to God you hadn't said or done what you did to hurt somebody else. So if your loved ones have passed on, that's happened to me several times. They're always nearby. Whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling, they know. And the greatest gift you can give them is to live your life fully. So by the time you see them again, you can both celebrate. And I got this done and this done and this done, and have a great reunion. I sort of got off topic with just Sunny, but I don't know. I just went down that road. So I hope that you don't mind.
I love that. And I think, that helps to ground this. And I have a lot of slides, and so hopefully we are good on time. But I wanted to mention, because of what Barbara said about how accountability and what we do and say matters. And especially as we enter next year, it's a reminder that we are always creating, and we are spiritual beings, we are energy beings. And so the more that we focus on win-win solutions and supporting each other, uh, the happier and the smoother time we can have. And so there is a lot of fear-based ideas out there, including, has anyone heard there's a myth going around about how if you die or have an NDE and you end up going into the light, it's a trap. And there are people who are spreading this whole
Really?
and it's just silly what's out there. And so the point is, our thoughts are energy, and what we focus on is critical. And what's happening, in the Middle East, in the Ukraine, in so many other places, and it could happen more next year, is these cycles of war, and how history always repeats itself until or unless people learn. And so this is a reminder for us, and just a war never has to happen. It isn't a preordained. It's people's patterns, and it's as Barbara said, it's often our karma. It's the consequences of hate and repeating cycles of vengeance and retribution. I say that because we're hearing that lately from politicians, and that energy is really, it's the opposite of what we want, and the ETs want, and even God wants, and our loved ones want, because it's destructive. And so almost every near-death experiencer learns or feels that love and that oneness, and it's hard to come to earth when we have all this conflict, and it's often drawing us in, and people are wanting us to pick sides. And so a quick refresher about if we have a world with a peace or not. And so when there is no peace, there's often too much selfishness. It's a mean mentality, taking from others, and lying is normalized. And I'll say this because it's increasing in our country, and in government. Lying is becoming almost a standard. And this isn't about sides exactly. It's looking beyond our boxes at the core principles or energy that people are putting out. Peace energy, you can actually recognize it because it has empathy. It's win-win. Truth is honored. If someone accidentally slips up and perhaps lies, they will graciously apologize and fix that. So wisdom, love, and truth are all connected and important. And so here's just a picture of, on the left side, what a world and energy with war looks like, and on the right side, people are are celebrating, and there's also nature. One thing about war, especially like in Ukraine and places where so many bombs have dropped, is that it just kills all the nature as well. All the trees and gardens and rivers, everything gets destroyed. And so, just a reminder, almost every experiencer learns this and feels the reality of the golden rule, and that how we treat others directly comes back to us. And you'll see that every religion at its core has this message embedded inside it. And so a lot of experiencers have learned how all religions have pieces of a truth, and no religion has all of it. So you think about a diamond with many facets. And so you see here that this particular facet is found in so many religions. Mary Daniel, in her experience, she talks about being loving and kind and merciful and forgiving, encouraging, and even useful, supporting each other. Marcy talks about love is why we're here on the planet, and it's our purpose. And in our life review, as Barbara said, people will often feel everything that they put out. And then a cardiologist, Dr. Pim van Lommel, talked about the two most common changes are increasing sense of social justice and a desire to help others. And a lot of people, especially lately, have been caught up in this idea that there is no ultimate truth and that everyone has their own truth. And there is truth in that we all have our own perspectives. However, saying what is really happening is so important, and wisdom can only be built from that. And oftentimes I'll add that how people describe their life reviews is that everything that they lied even to themselves about was completely shown. It's almost like the ultimate truth keeper, and it shows us even when we were ignoring it or blind to it in life. This is interesting. Especially around the election and afterwards, there's a lot of misinformation. And so this is a information on how to check and evaluate if you see a post. Is it something that will draw fear or outrage or anger? And is the source of the information actually valid? Oftentimes, viral posts tend to sway people away from truth, and it's basically playing on people's emotions. And so, even though this may seem like a tangent, I put this here because of how important truth is and how I should say underrepresented it is lately. And this is from the Ohio League of Women Voters. And so basically, in summary, peace is important, and it starts within us. And if people are drawn into that, attacking others, even verbally, it just ends up repeating the karma and cycles of the past, and we don't ultimately want that. I did some meditating yesterday, and I wrote down everything that I got. So I want to just read through this. And so um, the whole messages that we're talking about is not about politics. The truth is not in a particular box. You have people in different sides, and there is truth often scattered among them. Um, and also, our intentions are key. If you ask and you look, you will find, but it takes focus. A lot of us are so caught up in distractions that it's easy to get lose our focus, especially going into next year. And I've heard other people talk about this as well who get intuitive messages, is that sometimes the only way forward is to close your eyes and focus within. And staying focused and grounded. When we are self-contained and we're not dependent on any outside um, people or um, resources, especially if we have our own water, power, food, even, it helps. I don't think, and I don't actually know if it'll end up where, everyone is kind of not connected to the food chain and all that, uh, uh, with the logistics and all that. However, shipping and other transportation systems could have temporary disruptions. And so having our own sufficiency will help a lot. And I saw this angel, and it was a female angel, and she was very compassionate. And so as I saw her, I felt um, these words are basically coming from her. And then I saw footsteps going to a new garden, and um, these footsteps might not always be easy. And that garden and that dawn, it was in the future. And I saw people forking out into different directions, and splitting up. And so a lot of people are heading towards the same overall direction. However, they are taking their own unique pathways to get there. And then I saw a tsunami. However, when I saw it, I didn't see immediately like destruction. I felt it almost like a metaphor of even healing and nurturing water, of shifting into our systems, our society, our ways of life. And so lately, when we think about what happened during COVID and how it just stopped everything, and when people were inside, roads were actually clear, and even above all of the politics or finger pointing of who caused it, or who is in charge of all these quarantine policies, and is it good or bad and all that. Beyond all that, on a spiritual level, it was allowed to happen because it was pausing humanity and pausing our consumption and our kind of greed, our pollution on the earth. And in that time and afterwards, it was like a reset, even if it wasn't a full reset, but it did significantly change things. And a lot of people, especially mothers who have children and whatnot, were able to work from home and to um, begin shifting into a way of life that was more accommodating, and actually working. And unfortunately, lately, all of that progress has been reversing. And so even the policies which were supporting the people who can actually be at home more and not have rush hour traffic every day, and with people taking so long and all the pollution from that and all that stress and all that rat race energy is now returning. And I say that because I feel that in the coming year and after, we might have more of these kind of resets or these pauses of like going back to business as usual is not the best idea. And then I saw a sunflower, and how if you look at a sunflower, it has so many seeds inside of it, and those seeds were full and fertile. And so there is nature that we can work together with and grow with, and it's just around the corner. It's just a matter of shifting our society to honor that more. And if you think about our food, transitioning less from the factory farms and the glyphosates and all the poisonous chemicals and all the erosion of our top soils, and actually having gardens and people interacting more directly with that. And the final thing is tariffs. And I know I've said this isn't about a side, but if you just look at the word tariff and how the effects of these and what they will actually mean, you have in Mexico and Canada and other countries already talking about retaliating. And this, if we go back to what we talked about, peace versus not, what is actually supporting compassion, kindness, and generosity, and what is the opposite of that? And I know that in the bigger picture, it isn't even about economic policies, but ultimately, the U.S. and the whole world is in this process of evolving and learning how to navigate this into the future. So I said a lot, and I saw a chat. Let me just check that. Also, I looked at the astrology, but I want to ask, does anyone have any questions or comments so far?
I have a really important one from my stance of experiences. Going back a ways, you had a quote from somebody's book, and where was it?
Was it about your book? Let's see here.
No. And that one. And the author wrote, Death Experience and How to Avoid Hell in the Afterlife. I would highly advise people not to take that literally. I don't know if she's using that just for shock value and advertising and momentum, but you need to be concerned and about what's so fascinating about this is the channeled information from Alora actually addresses that. So I think I won't say a whole lot because it was just brought back to me that she actually addresses it. But hell isn't a place, it's a state of mind, and it's a state of being, and it is what you do to yourself. Is it okay if I said that?
No, that's awesome. Yes.
So that there's not a, oh God, anybody else who might have seen that and cringed. Not to create fear that way. Thank you.
And so I wanted to talk about astrological events. And so I don't know how many people here are into astrology or curious about it. I'm a natural skeptic. I question it a lot, but in my observations of it, it definitely has something to it, and that's why I follow it. And if I ever don't see that, then I'll stop. And so what's interesting is that if you remember back in, I think it was the end of September, start of October, a comet showed up, and it was in our skies for about 1 month. And I haven't actually learned any particular lessons from experts in astrology about comets. However, I've known that even ancient societies would often talk about comets as bringers of change. And if you see a comet, especially a bright one, the energy of that is for something unusual and something often big. And as I saw this, I felt like it's this kind of heralding of what happened up to the election and after the election into the next year of uh, changing our business as usual. And so it was apparently called Chusenshan Atlas. um, and also, if you look at election day, and I picked that because the energy of events will often follow along in the whole course of the event. And so if you look at election day, it will probably be kind of energetically into the next 4 years. We had Mars opposition Pluto, and these are the two most aggressive and violent planets. And so symbolically, they are basically facing off. And so if you hear or see anger in people, or talking about violence and retribution and attacking and fighting, Leo, actually Mars and Pluto are about that. And it's kind of this bitter sense of frustration and anger and vindictiveness energy. And so I feel like leading up to this election, and because of it existing through the whole cycle of 4 years, it's this time of like that anger, and it never has to mean that we're going to have violent wars or anything, but it means that emotions and everyone are high. And so it's all in how we use that, and how we work with that. And then on November 19th, Pluto finally entered Aquarius for good. I think it's up until for the next 18 or 20 years. And Pluto is the planet of power, intensity, and it can be ruthless. And we've heard people like Elon repeatedly talking about ruthlessness of business and profits and whatnot. And I say that not on the side for him, against him. It's just an example of that kind of energy. Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign and the energy of humanity and a change, revolutions, and science frontiers. It's almost like you think about modernizing the world. Aquarius is that eccentric revolutionary who's not interested in the past or tradition. He's like, I want to do something new that's smarter and that's more advanced. And so Pluto being there means that we all are feeling a sense of change, a sense of wanting a different future, and a change in how we interact as a society. And if we think back to that opposition to Mars, it means that there's some anger and some a volatile energy there. Actually, a few days ago on December 6th, Mars went retrograde. And whenever a planet goes retrograde, the energy, it turns inwards. And so Mars, typically known as the Roman god of war and that kind of energy, all of us are rethinking and feeling that kind of sense of combativeness almost. And Mars can be like that, but you can take that energy and harness it for progress as well. And so right now it's in Leo, and Leo is bombastic and showy. Eventually, it will go back into Cancer, which is more sensitive and moody. But then on February 23rd, it returns direct, and then is back in Leo in April. And I say this because oftentimes when planets uh, switch between a retrograde and direct, there are often changes in the world. And something that is especially interesting is that on Inauguration Day, on January 20th, exactly, the sun is conjunct Pluto, and it's opposing that Mars. And so our sun, especially the US's sun conjunct Pluto, it means that on that day of transfer of power, the emotions and the energy is going to be very heightened. And especially opposing Mars, it could have that possibility of something happening, although I'm not going to plan anything. And like I said earlier, we focus on peace. Any of these astrological energies can be transcended or focused on the positive aspect. Something interesting is that at that time, the Mars will be squaring Chiron. And Chiron is our wound part. It's our very sensitive part. And so when you have the god of war challenging our wound, people are often hypersensitive and can lash out. I've seen it happen at other Chiron transits. And so it just means it's almost like if you have an animal who is cornered, and if you poke it or something, it will attack. And so people's feelings at that time are going to be really raw. And so, knowing the astrological weather ahead of time helps us prepare or know that if we feel that or see other people feeling it, to have empathy of it's just the energy that's happening in the air. And towards the end of April, there will be a T-square in between Sun and Mars and Pluto. And so a T-square is a challenging aspect, and Sun and Mars and Pluto are basically bringing that a conflict type of energy to the surface. And now this has been channeled by Barbara. And so, Barbara, if you want to, we can actually start the reading.
Before you do that, and I know we're really running on time here, but I want, if anybody wants to ask a question, is there any questions that somebody wants to ask about what Ned said, that you have a burning question about what he said that you want or need clarification on? I want to give you, the option to do that now. You can ask it in the chat if you want. And do you want to take the sign down for a second so we can see it? Okay. So, Ned gave an incredible wealth of information. Incredible. And thank you so, so very, very much. You put a lot of time and effort into that. Really appreciate it. Was there anything that anyone was taking notes or something jumped out at you, like when I made a statement about that one part? Is there anything anybody wants to say? I just want to open it up to that.
Hi. Would that be why, like, when he's talking about all these, the different moods and things like that? Like, I've been going through really strange things lately. Is this what he's talking about? Like with the planets and everything shifting? Like right now?
That is possible. At any point in time, we as humans and even animals are feeling emotions, and they are often could be physiologically based. I know that even though it probably sounds funny, but have you ever been hangry? Like you're so hungry and your mood just completely changes, or with an illness or something that would often alter our moods. But if it isn't anything like that, the energies of the planets always are influencing us as well. And it's often a subtle energy, and people aren't always aware that it's happening, and yet they do. And so, um, whatever is happening in our solar system is echoed in ourselves. And I've heard people talk about, as above, so below. Um, and there is the energy of the current planets, and then the energy of how that energy influences or affects our own natal or birth energy. And so, like example, if you're a Aries sun, and then the current sun is, let's say, in Cancer at a square angle, which is a stressful angle, you will feel more challenged than usual by current events or people or situations. Or if it was a harmonious energy like a trine, you'd actually feel supported. So it's possible, and without knowing the time frame you're talking about and your chart and everything, and that would be a whole tangent.
Can I comment on that too? Is that
Yes.
okay? You were talking about the energy of the planets, and the energy on this planet right now is really volatile. So depending on how sensitive you are, you're going to react if you don't ground yourself every single day in your own space. I had a first once in a lifetime, I hope, first experience a couple of days ago. Actually, I'm going to backtrack here. It was about 3 days ago, and my guides told me, get your money out of the bank. Now, if I was doing reading for any one of you people, I would have said it adamantly, get your money out of the bank. Because I listen to the guides when they say this. I don't interpret anything else. I just listen specifically to what they're saying, and I give it to you directly. But I'm not very good at listening for myself. So guidance said, get your money out of the bank. And 2 days later, I get a text message that there's only $40 in my account. And that's just not even remotely possible, not even close. It turned out that somebody got into one of the accounts and was in the process of. Now, I have an alert, and I want to say this to everybody. I have alerts on my checking account. Maybe $20 seems like a ridiculous amount, but I've had it there all my life. Any transaction, $20 or over, I'm immediately alerted. And you might say 20, that's ridiculous. Thank God. I have to say, thank God I had it. And I called fraud immediately at the bank. And it was a pending transaction to literally wipe out everything. And because after I answered a brutal half-hour thing of questions, they were able, and the woman kept saying from the bank, she said, I don't see how I can do this. I don't see how we can stop this. This was done as a transfer, blah, blah, blah. I don't see how it can be done. And I kept saying to her, you can do it. You can do it. And then she kept putting me on hold. And I got very biblical here, and I was putting on the armor of God, and I was putting on the armor of God around my finances. And lo and behold, when she came back, she says, I don't even know how to tell you how much I did not expect to be able to help you, but I was able to stop the transfer. We were able to stop it, and I said that was God's will. But I didn't listen. So I really want to say a couple things. One, put alerts on your accounts. I'm suggesting that. Kim is laughing, but I'm serious. And listen, please listen. Don't do what I did with that. Listen to what guidance is telling you when they say, you know what, don't go out right now. It's not a good time. Because the energies on the planet are so volatile right now. Again, the more sensitive you are, the more susceptible you are. Okay? but everything is still for the learning. And I'll just say real quickly, I had an experience tonight, and that was when I did what guidance told me because of what I had just been through. And that was when I had heard the two guides, one saying to the other one, she's listening. You know, and then that was when I heard them say, their exact words were, she's listening. And then they said to me, listen this way so you can save yourself and you can help to save others. And that's the way you need to listen. You need to really know that spirit guidance, your loved ones in the realms of light, they're not wasting their time. They say what they mean what they say. Okay. Is it all right that I injected that?
Yeah.
Extremely.
Thank you.
Pluto transitioning into Aquarius is about, it's almost like the systems we've had, the power systems we've had, and how society functions is undergoing major change and will be. And so, and also I'll add, every single year has Pluto aspects and Mars aspects. It isn't particular only to next year, but what was interesting was how symbolically on election day, it was the exact energy of the Pluto opposing Mars. And so that kind of combative energy, even, and what's interesting is a lot of us in our own lives are fine and are thriving. And a lot of people, I'll say that, like, it's hard to say this without sounding political, but the truth matters. A lot of people voted because of inflation and prices were high, and so in that sense, people wanted a relief, but without realizing the energy that is now even more empowered. It's opening the door to a lot more, let's say, selfish energy, and that selfish energy, it ripples out. And so it's almost like how when um, I think it was 8 years ago or whatnot, incidences of racism and things like that were increasing, and misogyny, and that energy that ripples out from the power. And so anyway, it's a tangent, but I know Barbara actually has a lot more insight into specifically what could happen or will probably happen next year. So I'll let her share because where time is.
Yeah. I want to say, please don't strain your brain to try to take notes. If you send me an email to JC, the number 4, light, LIGHT, at gmail.com, or through my website, I'll be happy to send you a copy of the video. I'll be happy to send the video to you. I wish I had said that at the beginning, and I apologize that I didn't. But JC, the number 4, light, LIGHT, at gmail.com. And if you request it, I'll send the video to you. Okay, thank you. All right, so are we going to move forward now?
Yeah.
All right, so before you put that up, what is all that? Oh, okay. I have been talking with, I can't see the picture now of the person who was speaking earlier, who's had, what was it, Sharon? I don't remember. Who's had experiences with extraterrestrials or our brothers and sisters and light beings from other planets. And I have as well. In my book, I talk about having met John, commander of Spaceship 5 for weather control, and he actually saved my life. I was with a friend, and I tell the whole story about that, how he saved our lives long after I met him. So they've been here as long as this planet has been here. But it just depends on if you see them, if you're in this lifetime going to communicate with them. It depends on where you are at your stage of evolution. So this message tonight is not from John. The message tonight is from Oh, well, do you want to put up the beginning now? So maybe we'll do it that way. Okay. So this is from Alora, who has been communicating with me, and actually my next book is going to be her predictions for what's coming and a lot of information. Alora wanted me to say that her title of Queen or Revered One is not a status symbol on Jupiter. It doesn't mean what we take it to mean. It does not mean that she has power or control over anybody. What it means is that she has reached this place in her understanding and her evolution. That's what it means. And she was explaining to me, which I didn't write in here, she said they are historians on Jupiter, and some are apprentice historians, which means they don't have very much experience with it yet, but they're obviously learning. And then there are master historians. Nobody looks up at somebody and they don't look down on somebody the way we have a caste system on Earth. So when she uses the words queen and revered one, it does not mean that kind of caste system like we have here. It is speaking to her experience, her knowledge, her wisdom. Okay, I want to be real clear about that because she was very clear with me about it and it didn't get in the writing. So what she shared tonight, interestingly enough, of course, are some of the topics that Ned even had talked about. And she wanted to engage people in this. And so she instructed me to ask for volunteers to read parts and then ask whatever question you have. And then another person, if you will, read a part and bring your energy into this. So is there somebody who'd like to begin, or do you want me to begin? I'll begin the first one and then you can all get brave. Okay. I am Alora, Queen or Reverend One of Jupiter. Okay. Jupiter is not the Jupiter our scientists know about, and she explains that. It is an altered reality or another parallel universe dimension. And when I think I was 3 years old when I told my parents I was from Jupiter. And I only have talked to one other person who I did a reading for, who also had made the same claim that she was from Jupiter, but she described it exactly as I remembered it. And that's what was so exciting to me. So I am Alora, Queen or Reverend One of Jupiter. I earned this title. I did not inherit it. Each of us on Jupiter earns our ascension, as will you. To explain my identity, I am as Barbara Gale is. Before she returned to Earth, she spent lifetimes on Jupiter. So that might be confusing, but I am literally interacting with another aspect of who I've been. So when you meditate, you can connect with your past self and you can connect with your future self. And if you meditators don't know that, it's really quite an experience. All right, does somebody want to read the next one? Is there anyone who'd like to do that?
I can.
Just unmute and say your name so we know who's talking.
Anne.
I am. Go ahead. Thank you.
She was then born on Earth to teach others to choose more wisely through their interactions. While this harmed her many times, she knew of this teaching method and volunteered to arrive on May 30th of the year of her initiation into a professorship, if you understand that term.
Thank you. So they don't call it a birth. They didn't say, I mean, I was born on May 30th, but Alora did not refer to it as my birthday. She referred to it as an initiation into a professorship. And I know when I have given countless messages to people who have passed, to the people who are left here. In other words, if you have a loved one who passed on and I give you messages from them, they talk about their birthday. That's the only time I've ever heard the term birthday, when they crossed over. They say there's a welcome home, there's a big celebration, and it's a birthday. Here, when we leave that realm of light and love, unconditional love, there, when we come here, it's an initiation into our learning, our professorship, which I found incredibly fascinating. Are any of you familiar with walk-ins? Yes,
My
Dan?
dad's one.
Okay. Okay. So this is not a possession at all. A walk-in is when, at the time, when I was growing up, I told my parents I would be dead at 30. And at first they thought, oh, this is another one of her stories, except I didn't let up until they made me shut up. And then at 30, I went blind. And the doctors wanted to put me in the hospital, but my guides, who I listened to at the time, said, if you go in the hospital, you will die in the hospital. So I told them I would be back. I had to go home to my kids, but I didn't come back because the next day I woke up. The picture of health, energy, ideas, it was extraordinary. So walk-ins are literally, it's divine dispensation. It is a gift from God when you are, or a person, I don't want to say you, but when someone is too weary, they can't take anymore, they are allowed to leave that physical body and go into the light for healing, and another soul who is compatible with them will come in and live that life for them, either till the death of the body or until that person's ready to return. So that's what that's about. Does someone else want to read? Kumari, do you want to read? Next one.
Yeah, I'll read. Is my audio okay?
I'm sorry. Yes, you're great. In January 2023.
In January 2023, communications began, and it was decided her walk-in counterpart would return to the light. Barbara Gale would re-inhabit her physical body to complete what she started on Earth. She wanted to be present for the finalization of her mission.
I'm questioning the wisdom of that, to be honest. Maybe I would have benefited from staying where I was. However, that wasn't my soul contract, or I don't know how, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I used to go by Josie, and that I went back to the name on my birth certificate because all of this was happening, and now I resonated with the name on my birth certificate for the first time in years and years. So again, there's nothing negative about this. This is literally a gift from God. Tracy, do you want to read the next one?
Okay.
And this, remember, this is a Laura speaking. So
I am telling you, I am from one of Barbara's lifetimes. I am Barbara Gale from a past lifetime and future as well. Each of you has access to your past and future lives to attain guidance, direction, but not all of you are consciously working with your alternative self.
thank you. Somebody else want to read the next one? I don't want to just call on people, but Sharon, do you want to? Sharon, would you like to read next?
Sarah.
Okay, maybe not.
I'm happy
Tammy?
to read.
Okay.
The days ahead are perilous, and we will not hide this. A vast amount of us are present and placed globally. Many planets are represented. The Jupiter I speak of is not known to your scientists, Many humans are too violent to interact with life forms of higher dimensions.
Was there any comments or questions about that? Okay, who wants to read next?
I will. It's Elise.
Oh, Elise. Hi, honey.
Hello. There are visitors from other galaxies who have been captured and murdered by your earthly forces for power, control, and the ultimate conquering of the people of Earth. These lost humans have forsaken their spirituality and renounced their souls. They draw energy and power from a light that emanates not from creator, source, but from the sheer determination to dominate.
Is this shocking to everybody or anybody, or maybe not? Okay, you can put your comments in the comment part if you like, and we'll try to. And she goes on to say, placing protection around you is the same as directing your conscious mind with intention, focus, and action. And that is a formula, because you have to have the intention, but then you've got to focus on what you're going to do and take action. Right? Who would like to read next? Are there any volunteers?
I'll read, Barbara.
Thank you.
But protection is more. Protection is clearing and removing the charge of the subconscious mind and the layers of challenges that live beside and inside you from your unresolved, painful, and self-limiting experiences. By removing your triggers, you eliminate how others can harm you.
Is that easily understood?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Who would like to read next?
I'll read. But
Okay. Thank you.
This is Barb. But protection is more. Protection is clearing and removing the charge of the subconscious mind and the layers of challenges that live beside and inside you from your unresolved, painful, and self-limiting experiences. By removing your triggers, you eliminate how others can harm you. If you live with shame, you attract the quality and action of shame. Wars now raging upon the earth are so created, for they are from the collective consciousness of both the perpetrators and the victimized. The pain is still alive, active, and generating more of itself.
So what Alora is alluding to here is that when we have unresolved emotions, pain, issues, they're all energy, and each energy has a frequency, and that frequency either raises or lowers the vibration of the planet. It either raises or lowers your vibration. I have worked with a lot of cancer patients, and undeniably, I always tell them that cancer is a very low, dense energy, very low, dense frequency. And so what we work with is eliminating the cause of that low energy. Many times the cause of women getting breast cancer is because women tend to take everything inside and hold it inside. They're just notorious for doing that. And a lot of times that will cause breast cancer. So getting the emotion out, getting the pent up anger or hurt feelings out is imperative to your health and your well-being. It's also this energy when she says about wars now raging upon the earth are co-created. Same thing goes for the weather. Our emotions, God is not a God of wrath. God that I met is unconditionally pure love and incapable of wrath, because God is love. And therefore, it is people, it is humanity, it is our consciousness that is creating the tsunamis, that is creating the tornadoes, the earthquakes, the hurricanes, whatever is happening. We're doing it. It is a consequence of our energy, our vibration, and the frequencies we're creating. Okay.
Barbara,
yeah.
I have a question. And so how this part where it says the lost humans draw energy and power from the light that emanates not from our creator, but from determination to dominate. Can you shed light on that?
We all have power. Every single one of us has power. We have unbelievable amounts of power we're not tapping into and using. And if somebody has a calling to be a pianist or a violinist, and they take that power and that energy and they put everything they have into it, they can become the world's greatest. Congruently, someone who has disconnected so much from their soul and their soul's purpose to love, when they do that, they are creating this energy, and it builds and it builds and it builds of hate and competition and one-upmanship and inequality and racism, all of it. They are using that energy and they are building it, and then they are creating a lot of problems with it. So you can create negative energy or you can create positive energy. Does that answer your question, Jamie? No, all light does not come from God. This is the light about the mental. This is the mental. Like when you if you know somebody who they're never sick and everything seems to come easy and they make money and they exploit people with their money. We've seen some of that in politics. They're not doing that with God's light because God's light is thoroughly incapable of exploitation. God's light is only capable of healing. This is the mental light. This is that mental energy, okay? Does that make more sense? Is that clear? The light of God and the light of phenomena. Okay, I'm going to try and be politically correct because, Ned, you are extraordinarily good at it. But there are billionaires who use money to build homes, clothe people, build schools in third world countries. And then there's a trillionaire billionaire who does nothing with it except how it serves him. I'm just going to say it. So what we do with the energy that we have is going to be powerful, and it's going to be powerfully negative or powerfully positive. The defenseless are the spiritual humans who see themselves as powerless. They are not, of course, but this has become their belief. As one believes, so it is. And that is a powerful, powerful statement to live with. Who would like to read next?
Okay, I'll read, Irene.
Hi, thank you.
Okay. The same is true of the powerful. Their mindset upon conquering and those who have yet to learn to draw from the God light will fall prey to the wants and needs of the unscrupulous. Others who will fall are martyrs, wave showers of what occurs when humanity sleeps.
Now, when she's talking about when humanity sleeps, she means people who are apathetic. Okay. People, I heard so many people saying they weren't going to vote. And I don't understand that. I guess I just don't understand that. But I heard many people say, oh, I'm not going to vote. It doesn't matter. My vote doesn't matter. But it does. We can't sleep. We cannot sleepwalk through this life and then be upset about what transpires. Go
Yes,
ahead.
exactly. Because if this were a normal election, if this were just two politicians who were fairly benign or normal, it would have been one
Normal.
thing. But a lot of people don't know and haven't realized back then, or even still, or there's a lot of people in denial about what actually happened and what actually has been unleashed. And when I say unleashed, it's not just a person. It's not just, let's say, Trump as an example. It's everything behind him. It's all that kind of personality traits. All the people who are emboldened, who don't care about people who are fleeing violence from other countries, or who don't care about people who are struggling to pay their bills, and they're only looking towards what they can take from others. And so I say that, try to not be political, but seeing things as they are. And a lot of the reason a lot of people were didn't vote or didn't see things clearly, there was a lot of misinformation put out. But what kind of energy puts out misinformation? It's this, we don't want to say evil, but it's what Barbara talks about. It's the opposite of helping and having a connection to God and Source.
I'm just sending a message to the group with my email if you want a copy of the video to let me know, to email me. Is there somebody who would like to read next? Because I can't see everybody's faces. Okay,
I'll read again.
Oh, sure, would love that. Thank you.
Formula. Ask for, align with the light, God, Source, Creator. You can only do this when you no longer see yourself as superior or inferior to another human being.
You can go on.
If you feel like the chosen one, as stated, your ego will take over. Accept yourself beneath and unworthy of the gifts of the light, and you will not be receptive to its healing gifts. Come to realize you are the light. Being so, you are a co-creator with infinite possibilities. Barbara has levitated, made herself invisible to the human eye, restored life, and healed herself and others when in the totality of her connection and ownership of the light, working through her. This is yours to master as well, and it was your intention before incarnating.
So people always ask me, what's my purpose? You had a purpose before you incarnated to be all that you can be. When Christ said, all these and even greater works shall you do, irrespective of whatever religion you have, he said, all these and even greater works shall you do. This is actually the truth. You came here to emanate godly behavior. You came here to remember and reclaim the God within and to be that godly person, that spiritual human that Alora speaks of. That was our purpose. That was our original purpose. And a lot of things have happened that have gotten people off track. Was there anybody wanting to say anything about that? Or asking anything about that? Okay.
I have a question, and a lot of people may relate to it. Is we hear, about soul contracts, and for example, let's say an abuser would agree to incarnate with the victim to play out something or resolve some karma. What's your take on that?
Oh, she actually kind of addresses that later. I think she does, if I'm correct. But I have lived that out my whole life. putting myself in the line of fire so that people could choose better this time, could choose kindness instead of cruelty. Unfortunately, they didn't. So to answer your question, we do have contracts, pacts, and agreements, as I refer to them. And sometimes they recreate problems, recurring problems in our lives. And I've done a lot of this work on myself and with other people, because this isn't a karma you have to live with for the rest of your life. It was a choice to say, oh, I'll do that. I'll sign up for that. You can revoke, renounce, and rescind that contract, pact, and agreement. So that would be akin to me going in and looking at someone's Akashic records and their contracts and going through the process where they revoke, renounce, and rescind that contract, pact, agreement for being married to unfaithful people or being in poverty, whatever it is. If you've learned what you needed to learn from it, you can revoke, renounce, and rescind it, and then create, or rather really co-create with the God of your understanding, a new contract, pact, and agreement in which you are choosing to learn through observation instead of pain. Okay? Thank you, Ned. Your function differs from the meekest creature on earth, but this does not make you more or less deserving of love, safety, shelter, warmth, and compassion. Override negative undoing of unworthiness and fear. Decree and declare yourself to be a co-creator with your creator and express your commitment to be godly, compassionate. Daily realign. This reminder is necessary until you claim ownership of the light within. What that last sentence means is you don't have to keep realigning yourself with God because God has short-term memory loss. God doesn't remember a prayer the moment you've said it and it's gone. That goes into God consciousness. You said it once and it's done. But human consciousness doubts, disbelieves, forgets, is frail. And that's why you're repeating and declaring your commitment to the divine light, to the Christ light, to the God of your understanding, to be more godly, compassionate, to have empathy. Because you need to reinforce it for you. You don't need to reinforce it to God. God got it the first time you said it, but you need to reinforce it to you. Are there any questions about any of what you're reading, or we're good? Kim, can I call on you to read a couple parts?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Where's your puppy?
I've got two right now. They're just behind me.
Okay. Let's see. I think where does it start? Oh,
I thought you finished the other one.
Your astrology.
Yeah, your astrology.
Oh, your astrology is a guide or lends itself to providing signs. Your prophets tell you about a possible future based on your immediate choices.
Okay, you can continue.
Your frequencies upon the earth have become alarmingly skewed. They no longer align with the original divine plan for the evolution of humanity. Your population is like a bull charging to a destination, which will only result in demise.
Go ahead.
Stop.
No, go ahead.
Oh, pick yourself up off the bottom of the ocean of humans, bemoaning their fate or victimization. You are unconscious of the truth. This is one of the lessons you incarnated to learn. To know the truth from the untruth, the real from the unreal, the godly from the ungodly.
Thank you.
And I'll say this because I've always been a champion of truth, and every time for many years, whenever I post on social media about truth, immediately I have all people jumping in and saying there is no truth and whatnot. And I think a lot of spiritual people have, like we've kind of worked ourselves in knots of a confusion, and part of all that kind of led to what's happening. It's almost like people are not seeing what's happening and who is now extremely empowered, and what they're doing, especially behind the scenes. If we knew, and if we could see through lies and see through people's words to observe what they're actually doing in their history and their track records and hold them to that, we wouldn't be in such a pickle now. And so I love the truth. I'm just excited she's saying that.
Yeah, to know the truth from the untruth. Yeah. Okay, she goes on to define that. Go ahead. If you discover yourself retaliating in hatred, anger, and revenge, you will become hateful. And with that frequency of hate, you, like the bull, will run unfailingly into a wall that will crush you. Do you understand what is said to you? And then she literally made me capitalize all of this. Learn the difference between what supports life and what destroys life for everyone. Follow that premise, and it will lead you to the right choices, the right leadership, and the right to ascend from this dense and demanding planet. I couldn't have said it any better. I think that says it all. Learn the difference between what supports life and what destroys life for everyone. Follow that premise, and it will lead you to the right choices, the right leadership, and the right to ascend from this dense and demanding planet. Okay, who would like to read next? Any near-death experience people here who would like to read this part?
I'll read. My name is Catherine.
Thank you.
Sure. A brief statement about your near-death and out-of-body experiences. In addition to the death of the body, each time a person leaves the physical, they are unaware of what they totally experienced. This is so as not to confuse you with the monumental amount of information you received. It is through contemplation or meditation you will retrieve.
Great. Do you want to read the next part?
Otherwise, when necessary, you might need to create an illness or circumstance to push you to the brink of death to reactivate your senses to awaken. This method is mild for some and traumatic for others, based on their willingness to move their consciousness into a higher plateau of learning and recognition of their light.
Lovely. Thank you. Were there any questions about that? Okay.
I've heard this a lot, and so what she's basically saying is a lot of people who do have illnesses or accidents, it might seem on the surface like a tragedy, but there could be a reason, like it's happening to wake them up, or happening to stop something, or to change something. Is that
Agreed?
accurate?
Yeah. Agreed. Your departed loved ones are one or more levels above yours on earth. They have projects, friendships, but mostly learning and activities of service. Once they depart, your role is to discover and utilize your gifts that have yet to become awakened. They delight when you are growing and becoming more of your divine inheritance. And I have seen that. I have seen that repeatedly in talking to loved ones that have passed on and how they communicate with me. Here we go. If hell is a concern, learn to manage life on earth. You will find answers by doing this. Hell is like a boomerang. Love is like a boomerang. Everything is. So everything you put out there, you're going to experience it. It's just going to come back. And when a master speaks, Christ, Buddha, a master welcomes their words back to them hundreds and thousands of years later because they said everything with love. And that is, I understand that may be a big challenge on some days with some interactions with certain people, but that is the goal. That is where we want to get to. Who would like to read next?
Irene, if
Okay.
Barbara is ready, oh, sorry. If Barbara is ready for me to communicate through her, I will answer your questions. Barbara is well attuned to communicating from the light through a trance state or using what appears as a conscious state to you when it is a super conscious state. Yours in service to the light, Alora.
Thank you. Thank you. Alora gave me, and I shared this with Ned, she gave me a chant to do. How many? Gee, I don't know how to ask this because I can't see people's faces. Do you want to take away the screen? And yeah. And again, you don't have to take notes because it will send you the video if you email me. How many of you, when you meditate, use some kind of mantra or chant? Are there people who do that? Do you know what a mantra or a chant is? It's something that you say repetitively that will have a high vibration and focus your mind. A lot of people don't meditate because they say they can't stop thinking. That's not really the problem. It's not that you have to stop thinking. It's that you have to focus what you're thinking about. And that's what a mantra or a chant does. It om nam om mani padni om. That's a chant. And so your focus is on that. You don't have to stop thinking about it. You're just keeping your mind focused in a direction, in a positive direction. And I'm concerned that we don't really have time for this because it's 9 o'clock. But perhaps Ned and I will do another group if you want, and we'll pick up with more of Ned's incredible astrology input, and we'll pick up with Alora's chanting and doing the meditation. I have been doing this meditation, and I told Ned at first when I started doing it, I would see all these incredible colors, and I'm used to seeing that, but they were really intense. But tonight, before our gathering, when I did the chant and her meditation, I saw this white dove, this huge white dove flying towards me. It was like being in a 3D movie. I thought it was going to bump into me. It was beautiful, though. It was gentle and love and the energy coming off of it. And then after that, I saw this, and again, understand this is all in light. So the dove's all in white light. And then in white light, I saw a woman, and I saw her playing with, it was either a white wolf or a white dog, I don't know. And they were having the time of their lives. And there was so much love coming from here. So the more I see, the more I'm using it, it's changing. It is, well, it remains to be seen what she shows me. But it's a very powerful chant. And I don't, to do it justice, I don't want to do something in 10 minutes. It just is not going to be appropriate. So I guess on that note,
Barbara,
that's
I'll just add, if for anyone, like, I'm not in a hurry. If you're not, if anyone who wants to hang out, like, I don't feel a need to end it now. It's up to you though.
I do. I feel like it's going to be really a lot of energy. It's going to be a lot of energy, and yeah, that's my sense because I've been through this now. I've done her meditation twice, and again, if a lot of you have been meditating for a long time, you're used to having these experiences. But if you haven't, I don't want to do this in a rushed manner. It just doesn't feel right. So, how's everybody doing? Are we all good? Is there anything that anybody feels you've got to ask? You please, please, you can. Oh, Sheila, how sweet you are.
You know what? I want to add that I felt like the information here and what we shared, um, it's a little bit intense. I know a lot of spiritual groups and gatherings, they tend to only focus on the positive and whatnot and love and light. And here, you had a Laura and me and Barbara talking about heavy things like, it's like we're not going to sugarcoat, next year, especially that there are people and groups and forces of violence and whatnot. It's the information that they shared about why this is happening and what we can do and what we're here for. A lot of and how and simply how truth matters, because there are so many spiritual people who are just like, believe whatever you want and you're gonna imagine it, and there is the law of attraction, but I think what is lost in that is people are losing a sense of that there is truth and there is people who lie chronically every day, and to be able to call that out and see it and not support that, we need to learn that critical skill.
Well, when you talk about that, I don't know. She wants me to discuss this, but I really don't want to get into this now either. But we're all well versed in the story about the Christ and the Antichrist. Only it's not a story, it's a reality. And we're really in the midst of it right now. And it is critical, critical, critical for you to use prayer and meditation, something to the effect of, God, let me know truth and only truth. Let me see the truth at all times so that you are not misled, because it's going to get more and more challenging for some people. But Laura gave a formula for the truth and what the truth is. It's a litmus test that doesn't take a lot of thinking about it. If it's discounting some people because of the color of their skin or who they choose to love or how they choose to worship, it's not the truth of God. It just isn't. And that's just a fact, and there's no way to change it. So people who say I'm confused, or I was confused, or I was misled, or I didn't understand, if you understand the basic principles that God is life supporting, that God's energy is life nurturing, that God is compassion and empathy, anything that is not of those qualities is not the truth. It's a lie for their own self-aggrandizement. That's all it is. It's not really hard. It's not hard to know the truth at all. Are there any questions on that or comments on that you want to, anybody wants to elaborate, can say it better or in addition to? Yes, Irene.
This is maybe not what we're talking about, but I'm really, really, really curious about this. This happened to me about 6 months ago, or like say a year ago. I was in a deep sleep, and as immediately I woke up, I saw 4 green triangles in a row, like here and then space, here and a space. And I was just wondering, do you have any idea what that could be?
You were not really in your body.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Right. And I've seen the green triangular spacecraft. So you were partly, and I'm getting chills, massive chills now while I'm saying this. You were partially out of your body, and without wanting to frighten or you in any way, it looks like you really know them, and you were on the spacecraft and you were actually coming back. But the only part you remember is that part.
And then, you know what, Barbara? And also another like episodes I saw, like when I woke up, I saw not, so my vision is like this, but at the lower bottom of like in the same realm was like lime green light at the bottom, and then it dissipated. So are those the same people?
Yeah, I tend to see it as blue-green. I always see blue-green, but that could be your interpretation of it because we don't always bring back 100%, okay? But yes, you're familiar, you've been familiarized, you know them, they know you.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Wow.
It's fun. Who else has questions? Nothing on here. Nothing. Okay. All right. Tracy?
Yes. Have you ever heard of the 144,000 light workers? Is that what we are?
I've never been able to wrap my brain around that 144,000. I've never resonated with that.
Okay, I needed, I seen it, I found it, and I was looking at it, and I needed to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So many people want to, it's like star seeds. I fit the definition of a star seed. I fit the definition of a walk-in. I fit the definition of a light worker, a direct channel, a spiritual medium. So I don't know what this compulsion is with the human race that they want to compartmentalize everything. But
Yeah.
Alora mentioned, don't consider yourself one of the chosen ones and don't consider yourself beneath anyone either. Okay, just be
Yeah.
the love, be the acceptance, be the tolerance and the patience and the forgiveness. Be those things. But for people who want labels, that's fine. It gives us a way of saying, oh, oh, you're into cars, or oh, you're into trains, or you're into comic
Okay.
books. It gives us a way to communicate what we represent. But I've never resonated with that. And yes, I've heard it. But
Okay.
yeah.
I
have
just
a
know.
comment.
Oh,
Okay,
go
go
on.
ahead.
I'm sorry, Tracy. I thought Tracy was done. I'm happy to wait.
She's good.
Okay. We're in Hawaii, and I've been doing my best to study the mythology and talk to the people from here and hear their tales. Their understanding of 144,000, they have 144,000 gods, but it's multi-layered. The gods have interrelation with one another, and it's because of the sacredness of the number 12 is why they use that number. It isn't thought of as like a limiting or exclusive number. So that's just all I wanted to say. That popped in my head when you asked the question.
While you're talking, I'm hearing bells, like Tibetan bells. It sounds like in the background. And I see Tibetan monks and Buddhist monks walking behind you. Is this part of your meditations? Have you seen this, heard this?
Are you asking me? I'm sorry.
I'm asking you.
I love the culture, and I don't have I'm not monogamous when it comes to meditating.
Okay.
I do all sorts of things, whatever resonates with me. I have done some bull chanting and
Okay.
but when you're talking, my heart feels full and movement. So yes, you're talking to me and connecting with me, and not a lot of it is consciously coming to my mind at this time.
Right. You have many of these religious, well, I don't want to say religious, really spiritually enlightened. There, I'm being corrected perfectly. You have many of these spiritually enlightened beings of light, spiritual masters who are with you, and they told me they've introduced themselves to you during or through your meditations. And when I see them, there are the bowls. I see the bowls, and I hear like bells, like I see Tibetan monks and I hear bells. So wherever you place your focus, I'm eclectic as well. Wherever you place your focus, you're bringing them in, you're invoking their presence with you, and they want you to know, yes, we hear you, we see you, and we are co-creating with you. That's beautiful.
Thank you very, very much.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you.
I have a question.
Judy, hi.
I'm an integrative physician, kind of specializing in people with chronic illnesses. And since COVID, it has dramatically increased. And I was wondering what that energy was and what I can do to serve them. Because there's so many sick people.
You want to know what I really heard?
Yes.
The soul is weary and wants to go home. The soul is looking for a way to exit. It doesn't, sure, most of them, maybe some of them know, but they don't generally know that's what's happening. And there are a lot of people here who don't want to be here for what's coming in 2025 and 2026 and 2027. So that's what guidance is showing me. Some part of them does not want to be here. And they're not going to consciously say, I have a death wish or I want to leave. Well, there is no death. But the soul doesn't want to do this anymore. And some of them will succeed in leaving. So none of us are the healers, really. I mean, we can officiate and facilitate an environment for healing to happen, right? But we really can't make it happen. That's between the person who is suffering and the God of their understanding. They make that decision. We can do everything in our power, but they make that decision. Someone that I love very, very, very much was very unhappy with their life. And I went to the hospital to see them. And while this person was in the hospital, when I got there, they were on like life support and they were as white could be. And the nurses, everybody was like frantic about, what they're going to do next. And I couldn't let go of this person. And I engaged and invoked and drew the power of God in me and through me. Now, this person started to come around. The eyelashes fluttered, the color came back, the nurse came running in because the monitors, the machines, everything were showing what was happening. I remember another one saying, oh, I've got to get a doctor, whoever. And they took the tube out of her throat. And when we were alone in the room, she said, come here, because her throat was real raspy from the tube. And she said, God is my witness. She said to me, who asked you to interfere? I wasn't coming back. So her soul just was tired and didn't want to be here anymore. And I told her it wasn't her time. And I was there to help her stay because I knew what was coming later would be so much happiness and joy for her. And she wasn't happy with me for a long time, but she is now. Her life is wonderful. It's extraordinary, actually. Absolutely extraordinary. So if I wasn't meant to help her come back, it wouldn't have happened. It would not have happened. God can bring the person back without me being there. But for whatever reason, because I don't know everything that's in God's mind, I was supposed to participate in it. Because I was driving and I suddenly heard, I was told she was dying. I'm like, what? And I turned the car, turned directions and raced to the hospital. So we are instrumental in helping people pass on. We are instrumental in helping people to heal, but we're not really the healer, but we are instrumental in the experience. I hope did that answer any of your question?
Well, it's just,
and more.
They come to me for assistance because they haven't gotten help anywhere else.
Right.
And just wondered if there were anything that I could do to serve them that they are not getting from anyone else.
If when I work with people like that, I work with their soul contracts. I think Ned brought that up too. And that helps them if you know how to do that. I don't know if you do, but that's what I was talking about before. You can change a person's soul contracts and their life completely goes in a 360-degree different direction afterwards. I've seen it. It's extraordinary and miraculous, but they have to want to do it. Yeah.
I'll work on that.
Well, I don't know what that looks like to you when you say you'll work on it. I honest to God don't know if there's books that teach it. I have not written about what I do when it comes to this. So I don't know. I don't know. If you want to talk about this another time, we can.
Well, I kind of understand what you're saying. So
Okay.
Working on it would be meditating about it and see how I could use that.
Well, what I do is I connect with the guide who's there for them, their particular guide. They will show me the past lives. They will show me the contracts that are affecting this lifetime and if it can be revoked, and then how to create a new one in a unjustified teeny tiny little synopsis. That's all that for what it's worth, but I'll give you that. Okay. Okay. Was there anyone else who wanted to say anything?
Can I read something?
Who's talking?
It's
Oh,
Patsy.
Patsy. Sure, sweetheart.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I received this word and it's been a few years ago, but I'm going to read this. It says, "My daughter, you have taken hold."
So, Patsy, maybe you want to just let people. Patsy meditates and uses prayer and gets messages from God, from Christ. That I just want to give people an idea of where you're coming from.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So it says, "My daughter, you have taken hold of my hand, walking with me on the high places where the heart of man is controlled by his own pride. Pride is a wicked thing. It has crushed the dreams of many who seek to reign on high. They seek to control their lives, going where they desire, going where they wish. But my desire for them is to live and operate in peace and love, following my spirit as I, the God of creation, wills for them. So many have turned aside to their own ways. They have gone too far in their pride. I must bring these places of total control over their lives down. Their hardened hearts are destructive, causing much pain to others' lives. They are not controlled by love, but instead they are controlled by this world and its concept of how life and love works. They are so wrong. They discard my way. Their hearts are far away from my heart, my way of life. I beckon to them to come. With their eyes, they see me, and they perceive that it is I, their creator, their maker. But the hardness of their hearts keep them far away from me. But now I am drawing them again, and I say, come out of the darkness, for you have stayed there too long. My spirit is drawing man out of darkness to receive their God. For it is my desire to do this, to correct the wrong and violent way of life. Now you are thinking, what does that have to do with me? You have felt the pain of these acts, and you have desired rest and refreshing from the ways of this world. You, my beautiful daughter, you are my tool. I will use you to break down high places of pride. Through your gift that I have given you, I will use to accomplish my desire to give back to man life, to walk in wholeness, to walk in love. You have been given a cherished gift. Continue walking in this gift of love and watch as your Father uses it to accomplish my desires to restore to man life. For my spirit has declared it, and all of heaven awaits in anticipation to see the glory of my Father's love revealed in and through you. When we talked about what God wants and um, what should be done and how people should be behaving, it's all about love. That's what it's about. And that's the thing that he speaks a lot about is we need to love each other. We need to respect each other, and we need to be kind to each other. And that's what man lacks. Man lacks love. He lacks that basis.
Well, the basis is the lack of self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Because when people have been wounded, they've been injured, they have not resolved those injuries, and that pain, it festers and festers. And when they hate themselves, they cover themselves up and try to turn themselves into something that they can tolerate. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why mental health and emotional health is so imperative in changing this world.
Yeah.
People who harm other people are already they're harmed, they're in pain, they're suffering, and that is the basis of it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot that needs to be done, but you might know, many of you may know, it's very hard to help someone who doesn't want to be helped. You
It's
can't
true.
you can't. Sheila, is your hand up? Is there a hand there for?
Yes. So if I'm getting this right, are you saying my wrong choices are why all these terrible things are happening to me, or is it my contract, or is it a combination?
I would never tell anybody your wrong choices is the reason why something is happening to you. We come in, as guidance had said, or as Alora said, thank you, I'm sorry, I'm corrected here. As Alora said, that I basically volunteered to come in and have these painful experiences with people to teach them another way. So very often, the experiences we have are for the people around us because we said we would give them that opportunity to behave better, to be more generous, to be more compassionate. And so it's everything isn't about teaching us all the time. It can also be about teaching others. Does that make sense? So unless I don't make blanket generalizations other than God is love and God is real, I'll make that a blanket statement because I know it to be true. But when you're talking about individuals, that's when you have to know what their records are, their past lives are, their agreements are, to know where they're coming from. Okay? Does that make sense to you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. Ned, your hand is up.
I wanted to ask on behalf of two people who asked in the chat. Let me see here.
You see hope at the end of all of this?
Exactly, from Sylvia. And then Barbara is asking, are we in the last days? I know it's a common question.
Yeah. I have been told so much information by guidance and by our beloved extraterrestrials. I feel silly calling them that, but I don't know what else to call them unless I'm talking about John or Alora. So they have told me about how spacecraft will fill the skies and they will remove the peacemakers if it comes to that. They've shown me that already. So that to me is hopeful. That to me is kind of great. I have seen where people, like I was saying with Judy, who souls who want to leave, they don't want to do this. They, on a soul level, know what's coming and they want to leave. I don't see that as a negative because they're going to go home and celebrate and then work from there to help us here. So to say, is there hope? There's hope in absolutely everything. I mean, if somebody during the Holocaust would have said to me, is there any hope? Yes, you are very aligned with God and God is aligned with you. And many times I have seen where any genocides, where Columbine school here in Colorado, there was a mass shooting at the school. And one student asked this girl, "Do you believe in God?" And she knew what would happen if she said yes. And she said yes, and he shot her. But her knowingness was absolute, not her faith and not her belief, but her knowingness that she's here, her purpose, her young few years on this planet was to say to the world, look at what you're doing. Look at what you're tolerating. This is intolerable. How many children have to die before you have stricter gun laws, background checks? So very often the people who are sacrificing themselves, this life in particular, or the life of anyone who's perishing in a genocide or a school shooting, are saying to the world, wake up, wake up. Look at what you're allowing. This is not tolerable. This is not acceptable. And we're heading into that again. So, Barb, when you asked about, are these the end times? I would call it, these are the transition times, because there's never an end to life. There is life, and then there's the afterlife, and there's life beyond life. So we are in a time of incredible transition and transformation. And it's like giving birth. It's going to be messy and it's going to be painful. But if you're here, you wanted to be here for it. I came back for it. So I can't complain about it now.
Well, and that's a good reminder. Everyone who has a near-death experience or who comes through a medium will almost always, or maybe always, say that, in the end, we have our blinders on here. It's hard. We're like in boot camp. When we are back home, we can appreciate and say, I did that hard thing. I'm so glad it was worth it, even as frustrating and painful as it was at times.
Right. Yeah, I mean, painful times are painful. It hurts to be in pain. I have had healing miracles for myself and helped facilitate that for others. So the best you can do is align with that energy, align with that light that is pure love, and have your epiphany. Have that aha moment. Have that, see that miracle for yourself, because no matter how many times I tell you or anybody tells you, until you experience God yourself, it's hearsay. I hope it's true, but until you've actually done it, you've actually had that experience. And you don't have to have a near-death experience to experience God. Just get quiet. You don't even have to call it meditation. Just get quiet. Sit by a lake, a stream of running water. Be in the mountains. Be in nature. Do something that takes you into an environment that's bigger than what humanity has created, because God gave us this incredible, vast amount of wealth on this planet. And see the greatness in that and know that you are a part of that. You've got to go into a different realm. In other words, like if you're in the frame, you can't see what the picture is, right? You've got to get out of the frame. You've got to get out of it. You've got to look at it from another perspective. So whatever works for you that triggers that aha, that epiphany, that's the direction you take. It can be a symphony. It can be anything that triggers love and nurturing for you. It could be your dog or your cat. They're more unconditionally loving than people. So,
or a mountain or the ocean.
Yeah, exactly. So life offers a lot of suffering. My session with Barbara resulted in some positive changes, honestly. Well, thank you for being honest, Jamie. Thank you for that. We always go back to infinite love. The sensory earth experience is a unique and amazing thing, even with pain. I remember thinking when home, I am so strong and filled with love, I can do anything, and jumped at the chance to come back into a horrific and very painful situation to work my way out of it. Oh my God, Tammy, I'm right there with you. Me too. Me too. And I had somebody tell me once, don't raise your hand next time. Don't say, I can do it. I can do it. Pick me, pick me. Just be quiet.
Oh no, there were some things I wanted to do and I was like, I can totally do it. I just felt so confident about like
Exactly.
the infinity of the rest of the experience. I'm like, this is just a thing and we can do it. We can do anything.
It's a blink of an eye. Like a lot of people say, in spirit, these lives are so short. Why not just make the most of it?
Yeah.
Patsy, when you were reading, I just wanted to say I kept thinking of pride comes before the fall. That's and hubris and avarice and greed. It's not hard to know the truth of who your
Yeah,
leadership should be. That's really not hard at all.
it's true.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I think we probably should wrap this up because for people where back east, it's 2 hours later for you. Oh my God. Thank you, Elise and Tracy, for hanging in there with us. Oh my God. Yeah, it's late. And again, JC, the number 4, jcforlight@gmail.com. If I get your email, I'll be happy to send the video to you. Okay. You want to say anything in closing, Mr. Ned?
I appreciate, all of this and everyone. I'm surprised in a good way that we're over 2.5 hours in and there's still most of the people here, which is amazing. I would, just remember, spread the word and the love and just, actions speak louder than words. Thank you for being interested and curious about more in life.
I have to say, form groups or form alliances with people that are like-minded so that you have support groups. I mean, I love this tonight. I just love this. I just love it because it brings so much energy and hope. I'll use somebody's word, hope. It brings a lot of hope, okay, and gives clarity. So it's important to do that. It's important not to isolate yourself. When things get difficult, some of us want to just isolate ourselves, and that's not the way to go. We're really not going to benefit from that unless you're in your isolation.
I will.
You're meditating and praying, and you're exactly where you want to be.